woman can't be a simp. Understand what I'm saying by this. A woman can have simple bitch tendencies, but a simple bitch and a simp is two different things. A simp basically just means that you're in your feminine, submissive energy when it comes to your dominant party. A man who's a simp is a man who is in his feminine, submissive energy with a woman. What is being in your feminine, submissive energy? That means you want the other person's way more than you want your own way. You want that person more than you want to do things your own way. And you want them so much that you're willing to defer to them, to put their wants, their needs first, what they say, and not vet the person out to see if they have good character. So, like, how this works is that a woman can't be a simp because a woman being in her feminine, submissive energy with a man is natural. It's natural. It's not based in social programming. That something just comes out of her naturally when she feels like a man is dominant and masculine around her. Some of the worst advice that dating coaches give women and women give women, which is terrible advice, is not to give a man quote unquote wifely privileges when the only status that you have as a relationship is a girlfriend. That type of advice is terrible because with a man who's masculine and dominant, you're not even going to become his girlfriend. Women say don't cook for a man, don't clean for a man, don't have sex with a man if you don't have a relationship. That's terrible advice because only a man who doesn't have options or who's willing to manipulate you is going to go for it. I brought this up before that there are, I believe, four categories of men who are willing to wait for sex when they want to have sex. There are men who have limited amount of experience, so they do not have positive experience in a casual sex setting with women. Right? So these type of men don't, they see a relationship as an avenue to get sex. So when they're communicating with the woman and she says she's celibate, he's going to say, okay, I respect that. But he's going to keep pursuing that woman even though she doesn't desire him for casual sex because he's not aware of female nature and female sexual nature enough to know that if a woman desires you enough, she will sleep with you. Right? The next category is a man who is sexually duplicitous. This is the type of man who will give the impression that he's cool with waiting just so that he can get alone with you and take advantage of you. Now, he may try to take advantage of you through telling you who's cool with waiting, then trying to seduce you when you get alone. He may be the type of man who will try to get you drunk. He may be the type of man who'll try to get you high. But really, his goal is to use the fact that you want plausible deniability to get close to you and then to try and arouse you and take advantage of the situation instead of being upfront about his sexual intentions. Now, women who desire that, a lot of times they give off Me Too vibes because they're looking for plausible deniability, right? Now, that's not a good type of man to deal with. He's not upfront about his sexual intentions. He's just the type of man who will try to manipulate you, try to take advantage. The third type of man is a man who is so overly sexed, where he's so used to so many women who just want to have casual sex with him, and he has so many women on his roster at that particular time that he doesn't mind spending a little time with the woman, but his goal is still to have sex with her. Now, that man's probably going to have so much experience and been with so many women that there's a strong possibility that he may be willing to wait because he may have an STD. He may, there's a lot of things that it could be. And then the other one is a man who is on two sides of a coin when it comes to his spiritual beliefs, which means that if the woman gives the impression that she has certain spiritual beliefs, he'll go for it. But he sees that as a woman who has good morals and good values. But at the end of the day, if she wants to have sex, he'll do it. A man, if you would have sex with her, if she tried to have sex with you, then you thinking that waiting is being moralistic, you're lying to yourself and you're lying to her. You're on your bullshit. It's just on some bullshit. Now, a woman cannot be a simp. She can't. Now, she can be a simp for other women, but she can't be a simp for a man. Now, when we're talking about a simple bitch is more so just a woman who, if you're showing high levels of interest, she'll lose interest. But if you pull away, then she regains her interest. That's simple bitch energy. That means the woman's not integrated, right? That's a woman who's not integrated. Oftentimes, those would be like attention whores who will whore for your attention. As long as you're giving them attention, they'll play games with the pussy. But as soon as you ignore them, you mute their story on social media, you unfollow them on social media, not unfriend them, but unfollow them. Like let's say it's Facebook. When you no longer give that attention, that validation, and if the last thing you said to them was sexual, they come back around as fuck with you. But that's because when a woman is an attention whore, she will eventually whore for your attention if you gave her quality validation and then you take it away, right? Now that's an issue because in those type of situations, really it's about how you pace the situation out. But in those type of situations, if you show any interest to that woman over a certain level, then she's going to pull away from you. So that's simple bitch energy. But women telling other women, don't give him relationship privileges if you're not in a relationship, or marriage privileges, that's dumb as hell. Because what you got to understand about a man who's dominant and masculine and who has options is that he has women who are willing to do all of those different things around him. You know, if a man isn't a simple bitch himself, then chances are he's not going to give you more credit for withholding. Whether that's sexually, whether that's non sexually, you're not going to get further with him by doing that. A man who has emotional discipline is going to reward the behavior that he likes to see, which means that you need to campaign for the position that you desire to have. And that takes a certain level of desire, that takes a certain level of respect, and that takes a certain level of feminine and submissive energy. If you're the type of woman, like a lot of times women will say that later on, okay, I'll do that later. If you don't have the energy or the capacity to do those things now, then if you do it later, it's just transactional. And with transaction, if the transaction is a relationship, then the moment you get a relationship or when that seems like it's close on the horizon, she may be willing to give in for a little bit of a time. But after a while, the newness of that's going to go away, and then she's going to revert back to, the level of sexual attraction that she has for you. She's going to revert back to the level of submissiveness she has with you. It's going to turn into a situation where that woman says, well, I'm going to give you these things after we reach a certain point. And then after you reach that point, now the woman has all the leverage. Let's say you get married. You're providing for the woman. You're doing all those things that she believes are husbandly qualities. If you're doing all those things for a certain period of time, then that woman can put you on the hook in the court system, and now she has no obligation to reciprocate sexually. She has no obligation to be feminine and submissive with you because you're dealing with her on the basis of her social programming. These are some things that are important to understand. So you got to understand is that a woman can't be a simp. A woman who sees being feminine and submissive as being a simp is a woman who has masculine energy in the first place. You got to understand that sometimes a woman is going to vie for the attention and the validation and for relationships with beta males because they're masculine. Only a beta male is going to reward a woman for not doing what he likes. Only a beta male is going to do that. A masculine man is not going to reward a woman who is not feminine and submissive with him with the social validation of being in a relationship with her, with the security of having sexual exclusivity. He's not going to reward her with those things because she does not deserve it. When you have emotional discipline, you don't give a woman things that she doesn't deserve. See, something to understand about Dom sub dynamics is that whoever's in the lead of the relationship is the one who's in the lead. How things tend to work in the traditional dating sense is that a woman is the one who's in control of sex and reproduction, while a man is the one who's in control of relationships and commitment. So oftentimes, women will try to take a page out of the book of Red Pill Guys and say, well, if you do this, then I'll do this for you, which makes things transactional. It's not about things being transactional. It's not about that. What you got to understand is that a woman is feminine. Well, a woman's female nature is going to be emotional. A woman is going to tell you the things that are going to make her comfortable, but comfort isn't the true standard of what is going to cause a woman to desire and respect you. It's not. Until you understand that, then you're going to take a woman's word for it about certain things that she wants and desires, and you're going to try to submit yourself to her program to get what you want, and then she's either not going to give you what you want, or you're going to find out that she gave what you want to somebody else for free. And then you're going to be mad, and then she's going to say, well, that's too damn bad. So when you're in these type of positions, one thing to understand is that whoever lays the ground rules for both the sex and the non-sexual relationship is the one who's in control of it. You gotta understand what I'm saying. So if you're going to have that dominant masculine role in a relationship, it's important for you to not only be in control of the relationship status, but for you to also be in control of the sex. So why I talk about the biology first approach is so that you establish that sexual dominance, that sexual compatibility and chemistry in that woman's desire. If her desire and her respect is high enough, it'll overcome her social programming. And then from that place, you lay your ground rules and the foundation of what it will take for you to be open to being in a relationship with that particular woman if you feel disposed to doing that. If you feel, like, okay, cool, I can do this. But that takes time and it takes a certain level of integration, right? Like when guys think about simping, like those things that you do are not wrong. They're only wrong if you feel like that's what you have to do to get that woman. Shout out to Kay Zagan, made a video about that recently. But one thing to understand about it is this: it's not about that. It's not about that. Providing for a woman isn't an issue. If you have a woman who has small children, like if you have a small child with that woman, you really want her working 40 hours a week, 60, 80 hours a week while she's pregnant? I doubt that. If you're a man with character, does that mean that you want her to sit on her ass and do nothing for her whole entire life while she's married to you? No. No, you don't want that. Well, I hope not. You know, and for some people that works, especially if she's good with her domestic skills and stuff like that, then maybe that's a situation that works for you, but it doesn't work for everybody. But when we're looking at situations from this particular perspective, one thing to understand is that you have to lay down your foundation. You have to lay down your ground rules. You have to lay down a certain understanding and transition into that. Those things that are considered simp qualities, oftentimes the reason it causes a woman to lose interest when she has simple bitch energy is really because you're giving her things that she doesn't deserve, so she grows entitled to it. You're playing into her social programming, and because you're playing into her social programming, she becomes entitled. And then if you do the things that are necessary to check that woman, or if you do the things that are necessary to establish that level of respect, she's going to take that as you being disrespectful to her. So the best thing to do is to bypass that social programming. And it's going to be difficult for some guys because there's going to be some women that you want to deal with who aren't going to be purely sexually attracted to you enough to have casual sex with you. And they're not going to be non-sexually attracted to you enough to have casual sex with you and then win a relationship. But integration is about having both. You have to pace those non-sexual things out, pace them out, and to see how she reacts and responds to you showing a higher level of interest and a higher level of investment. And as you see those things, you do it at a pace to where if her sexual attraction or her respect for you drops down, then you have to, the buck stops there. And you coach her through it, you lead her through it, but then you might have to pull away a little bit to raise her back up and then see where she's at. And then either it stops right there, or as you get her mind right and you influence her and her beliefs and her thought processes and you break it down to her, then you're able to get to a higher level of showing her affection and emotional, security and stability and consistency without that putting her in a position to where she loses respect and attraction and desire for you. But this is just the process of your program. Your program has to be set up to understand these things. When you start with casual sex, someone want to see you as only sex, and that's cool. That's cool. I don't even like to deal with those women. If she's not trying to be sexually and non-sexually submissive and feminine with me, then I'm not really concerned with wanting to deal with her, because every person that you deal with is a risk for a sexually transmitted disease. Every person that you, even if you wear a condom, every person that you deal with is a risk for the possibility of pregnancy. Every person that you deal with is a risk of that woman being crazy if you put the dick on her too good. Even if she's just crazy on her own, even if you give her like the BC game dick, she might be that kind of crazy. Every woman that you deal with is a risk. So why take that risk unless that woman is willing to be feminine and submissive with you outside of sex? Inside and outside of sex. So this is just breaking down some aspects of the biology first approach and why a woman can't be a simp. If that woman is in her emotions, you as a man should have the emotional discipline to say, okay, cool, I'm not going to allow her to do this. This is too much for where we're at, so I'm going to slow this down. You're going to tell her, hey, slow your roll. right? That woman may desire a relationship with you prematurely. I've had situations like that with women because when a woman's really feeling you, she gonna try to be your girl. You say, hey, listen, slow your roll. This is too soon. We're not doing all this. Woman might try to goat you into having deeply emotional and vulnerable conversations prematurely. You got to know how to evade those situations and stick to the thing in mind. And when you coach a woman up, she can get to the place where she is able to enjoy an intrinsically, mutually beneficial and desirable sexual relationship with you and be satisfied with that and still want a relationship. From that place, that's where you begin to coach a woman